Wonderful. Okay, well, officially welcome to our Coffee with DC Costa Rica edition for our new trip. It's called Culture, Craft, and Conservation, and it's actually where I get to call home. This itinerary was really built by Chris and I. I'll have introductions here in a second. But for everyone who doesn't know me, I am a travel specialist at Discover Corps, which essentially means I help to fit you into the right trip. So we work in over 20 different destinations all around the world, offering these vacations with purpose that, have this element of volunteer or purpose-driven, sort of more regenerative travel. And but I get to work and sell trips everywhere. But this trip is unique because my husband Chris and I actually built it and are your sort of hosts and directors on the ground. But my day-to-day job is working for Discover Corps and getting to speak with all of you amazing travelers and understand where you're going in the world and where you want to go. But hopefully this will give you a window into sort of my personal life and what we do on the side, which Chris will be able to sort of elaborate on in a second. But I'm originally from Canada and I've lived in Costa Rica for about 7 years. And we run a social enterprise, which you get to come and visit on this itinerary too. So super grateful to have Chris, my husband and partner in this call with you guys. And I'll give it to you, Chris, to introduce yourself and your background.
Hey everyone, again, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share about, Costa Rica and this itinerary and get to any possible questions that we can address. But yeah, like I said, I'm Chris. I'm co-founder of Versus. I always find it really hard to introduce myself because wear many hats, like a business owner, entrepreneur, but I'm also a digital marketer and video producer. So I make documentaries, videos. I really love to use storytelling and a camera to just share stories and share the beauties of the world. I've also been involved in this area of experiential and regenerative tourism. So I also lead mainly groups, work with youth, kids anywhere between 15 to 18 years old, planning and taking them and leading itineraries and pretty much all over Latin America and Costa Rica being a country too. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I think the best part is I get to do this alongside Lynn, my wife, who she already mentioned and introduced, and business partner, partner in crime and everything. And so it's a very exciting journey. I'm really happy to be here, and yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Chris. And Alec, can you introduce yourself too?
Sure thing. Hi again, everyone. I'm Alec. I'm currently a Peace Corps SED volunteer, which is Community Economic Development. I'm based here in Moyajones. I've been here since late September 2024, so it's like about a year and a half now. But it's a really lovely place. It's very special. And I don't say that just because that's my job and I live here, but it truthfully is it's a very special community. People are very welcoming, they're very open, and they love to welcome people in to see what we do here. And it's a very cooperative place, and hopefully if you decide that you want to come down here, you guys will be able to live it for yourself and be able to be part of the story of Moyajones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of fun fact for everyone, one of Chris and I's first dates before we formally got married and everything was actually in the community. We took the bus, hiked out here. I came to Costa Rica to do my research on women's entrepreneurship in rural Costa Rica, and so a lot of my sort of case studies or research was in the community of Mojojones, where Alec is currently doing his placement. But Chris and I ventured out there many years ago, and we still to this day work with the community, not only running trips, but we have our partnership with them, which we'll talk about in a second, and how we work with them. But what's really cool about having somebody like Alec on the call today is that it really is a reflection of like where Peace Corps currently is, but we have a history of the connection with the Peace Corps with our founder Andrew Montiel actually being an old Peace Corps volunteer in Honduras, and his mission was to create a form of travel that was more equitable, something that really did, you know, involve an off the beaten path sort of approach to travel and that gave back in some sort of way. So our itineraries have historically always included an element of volunteer service to sort of reflect those values that, were built when he worked in the Peace Corps. And so I think it's so cool that even before I started working with Discover Corps, we work with the community, and I have gotten to see over the years the different Peace Corps volunteers that have come through. And it's been such a pleasure working with you, Alec. And I'm really excited about what the year is going to look like moving forward as well. But for everyone who didn't know that sort of history, I love to sort of pay ode to it, as I think it's a really unique sort of positionality that Andrew had that he was able to build the company on. So as I mentioned, we work in over 20 different countries, and all of our itineraries sort of have a theme, rather, if it's conservation, education, women's empowerment. This itinerary is unique because I feel like it really does include all of that. And yeah, really excited to kind of jump into it. But overall, at Discover Corps, our mission is to really inspire travelers to become advocates for our planet's natural wonders, cultural treasures, and local communities like Mojahones. And yeah, we believe that our travel can really create unforgettable memories for everybody that also has an impact. This is our what we consider our like recipe for success. All of our itineraries have, community at the front of what we're working with. We really want to work with communities that we know that we can have a collaborative approach and work together in the long term. But also, we do this through small group travel. So our group sizes are usually no larger than 16 people so that we can really have that intimacy and get to know each other better. And they are immersive and educational, and they have, again, an element of purpose or volunteer and always cultural immersion because they are also locally guided. So we don't have any of our guides on the call right now. It's high season, so you can imagine all of our guides are pretty busy out on the ground hosting people, and receiving families and solo travelers, everybody. But this is our recipe to be able to give you a really nice trip. But I'm really excited to get into this itinerary and kind of walk you through what it looks like. And I'm gonna pull on Chris here together to kind of talk about what the flow is. But this itinerary does start and end in San Jose. So that's where you'll be flying in and out of. This is a 5-day, 4-night itinerary. We really took our time listening in on our travelers. We have other itineraries that go to different areas of Costa Rica, but this was kind of built as an alternative to the sort of typical model of the Costa Rica trip. If you Google Costa Rica and you are interested in, the where to go and what to do, the route is usually like the La Fortuna, which is the volcano town, and then you'll go down to Monteverde, or to the Cloud Forest, and then you'll end in the beach in Manuel Antonio. And that's what our family volunteer adventure trip sort of reflects. It's an 8-day, 7-night experience. But this trip really kind of goes off the beaten path, shows you areas that usually aren't on people's radar. And I think really, again, at the center of this trip is a lot of heart and community. But it is about a 2.5, 3-hour drive from the airport. So we're gonna essentially hit the road to get to the hotel where you'll have this beautiful welcome dinner. Chris, can you tell us a little bit more about this hotel and what the sort of amenities and property look like?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I just want to add a little bit about what you said, important that is like off the beaten path. I think this itinerary, it's beautiful in that sense that it shows you the authentic way of Costa Rican being, right? It's a way that where like tourism, yes, it's a work, but it's more community driven. It's not, you get to see how people actually live, not how they market themselves. So I think that's a beautiful distinction about this specific itinerary, is that you get to see an authentic local way of being. And starting with this uh, accommodation, which is owned by locals from Turrialba, and it's placed in a beautiful area with a great view of the volcano, which you will talk more about it, the Turrialba volcano, surrounded by nature. It's very, very unique in that sense in the town that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has some really cool amenities when it comes to just the restaurant on site. You see this big building here. It's got some space, a yoga deck. You can't see it in this photo, but there's lots of nature and area to sort of like walk around, relax. Most of the sort of chalets also have a little patio that you can sit out and have a morning coffee with. Um, so yeah, and the food as well is exceptional. Something about Turrialba that I love to sort of talk about is just what an agricultural place it is. It's a place that you really can get such fresh, such great food. And there is, I feel like, a movement of entrepreneurs, generally pretty young as well, that are trying to sort of push a sustainability agenda or really like think critically about our business models and how we can approach things. And so naturally, like farm to table experiences or like, harvesting things from the garden and putting it into the food and what you're eating is a huge theme throughout this trip as well. I like these little tostettes, for example. There is a garden on this property, on the hotel property, that they also harvest a lot of their greens and veggies for. So we love that, and I think it's also a reflection of the sort of place and people's values. So we will have a welcome dinner on the first night. You'll have a chance to, meet your guides. Chris, can you talk a little bit about the guides, actually? I wanted to include a photo, but I think I forgot.
Yeah, so the guys are also local to Rialba, which also they're born and raised here, carry a wealth of information, not only about historic information about the town, but also not information about the natural world around this town, everything that regarding birds, species, trees. So it's a mother and daughter duo. They really live and breathe what it's like to be guiding and then share with love all the history of Turrialba and all the facts that makes Turrialba special, but again, also all the beautiful elements of nature and what it means to where we visit.
Yeah, so there's three female guides that we technically work with. So depending on their availability, we'll determine who you get to have sort of hosting you. But as Chris mentioned, there is a mom-daughter duo. And a fun fact is Rosa, the mom, she was again the president of the women's organization that I was doing my thesis and case study with. So when we finally launched this trip and we asked her to be one of the guides, it felt like a real full circle moment after 7 or 8 years of knowing each other and again working together in different communities. But I think it's a huge honor and that we get to have our travelers be hosted by such incredible, like Chris said, local Turrialbeñas. And there's also another guide who she's an incredible bird watcher and photographer as well. So all of them are unique and can really sort of help host you when you come here and be your best friend. When we arrive to the second day, the idea is to go to Santo Pan. It's actually the old train station that they've converted into a bakery and restaurant where we can actually sit on the train and have breakfast. This is also an opportunity to kind of connect with the cultural roots about the history of the train, and maybe you can kind of talk about that, Chris, just the uniqueness of Turrialba as well as a trading area historically.
Yeah, Turrialba has been historical, a meeting point, a melting point of cultures. A railroad that now, it's, of course, defunded doesn't work, the railroad, but back in the day, it was the main transportation to carry, well, not only people, but also goods from the Caribbean side, mainly uh, plantains, and also to all the way to the city. So Turrialba did become this very interesting place where trade would happen from the Caribbean to the Central Valley. And there's these little gems of history, like Lynn mentioned, this old train station converted into a coffee shop. In that picture that you see, you're actually inside a wagon of a train. So that's the actual way the train looks. You have the seats, the tables, so it's very special to have breakfast in such an historic place that you get transported back in time and start imagining what it would have been like to be in Turrialba back then.
Mhm. Yeah, with all of the trading. And we purposely planned this itinerary because right beside the train station or bakery, we're able to see the agricultural fair. So hundreds of vendors, or at least I think at least 100 vendors are able to come and sell their goods, rather fruits or vegetables. And it's such a fun time to be able to walk through the market and kind of understand. You run into everyone. We'll definitely run into friends when we're walking down the aisles and seeing all the different fruits and interesting sort of products and things to explore. And so we'll do a little bit of a walking tour. We'll probably stop for a fresh coconut, and then we'll head up to Huersos, which is Chris and I's social enterprise. So, Chris, before we hop into what we do at Huersos, can you kind of give us an overview of what Huersos is and, um, yeah, what we stand for?
Yeah, so like in a very, I'm on a brush, and of course, then we'll you can help me, Lynn, with fill up the details. But we're SOS, right? So we're a social enterprise that use upcycles as a way to drive community change. And we have a partnership with Southwest Airlines where we repurpose discarded airplane seats and we transform it into products. And those products, we make them not just to make products, but to drive community development. So we stand on three pillars, one being reducing waste by upcycling thousands of airplane seats and other materials we use. We also, at the core of what we do, want to activate the rural economies. So at the end, everything we do is in function to try to generate this economical activation that would in term, like in result in different changes in communities we work with and create educational spaces. So through our social enterprise, we try to enable spaces for those we work with to just better ourselves. So we use business as a tool of social change. We use business to provide either that's accompanied with psychological workshops or spaces of education that we can better those communities we work with and try to break some of those cycles we are part of sometimes when we're in vulnerable communities. At the core of what we do too is everything it's related to education. So we do upcycle these airplane seats to make bags, but it's really about education and creating these spaces. And in this picture, yeah, you can see the seat, the actual airplane seat behind us where we're sitting, and the products that we make out of the airplane seat. So we make these high quality, high fashion products that stop the seats from being on the landfill. Um, yeah, I think is that a good summary, Lynn? You can
Yeah, yeah,
comment.
absolutely. Where sauce is a lot of things, and Chris and I both struggle to kind of digest and tell a short version, but that's the whole point of being able to host you guys on the ground and be able to share a little bit more of the history of how we became partners with Southwest Airlines and the whole trajectory of it's taken many years. I mean, we started this in 2019. It wasn't until 2023 until we actually received the seats. And so it's been a long time coming to this moment to be able to really like host everybody and see our operations on the ground. So tell us a little bit about what the tour and experience looks like, Chris.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, one of our big components is education. So it's education, and it's a very broad term, right? But it is a powerful tool. So in this case, in our workshop, what we do is we try to provide that two-way education, right? When the visitors come to us and learn what it takes to get a product, what it takes to sometimes we're in today's age, we're very detached to the things we purchase, right? We don't know where they come from, what's the process, is there an impact behind our material acquisitions? So in Worksource, we try to educate what's the impact behind a bag that we make, right? So you come and you learn about all of our work from the community aspect of it, but also what it takes to make a bag, right? What it takes to disarm an airplane seat, what it takes to then put it together and make a bag. And we offer this workshop that also includes a hands-on component when you actually get to make a product yourself, right? You get to grab a piece of that blue leather, understand all its trajectory, and then make a product yourself that is functional, is useful, and it's a reminder of the experiences that you live in Costa Rica, but that also businesses can be a force of good.
Yes. And you get a chance to hear the stories of a lot of the artisans and people who've worked now, more than 2 years with us formally in our workshop and space. So before we had this current workshop where we can host people and actually have our facilities, we used to work with the artisans in their homes. Some had machines, but our dream was always to create a space where even people who didn't know how to sew or didn't have these skills could come and we could transfer that knowledge over. So a lot of the employees that work with us, they almost all have never had formal employment. So this is their first sort of formal job. They're also not always with a history of sewing or skills, so it's really cool to kind of meet everyone and understand what their background is. I feel like our Wear Sauce team is like a tapestry of Costa Rica. Everybody comes from such different walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds. So it's a really cool opportunity for you to again meet the local people who are around, and like this is their livelihood, and this is the what we're able to do is make an impact. Chris and I have always felt very passionate about creating, economic opportunity for people. And it's been beautiful to be able to see our employees sort of like through the transformation of seats also transform their lives. A couple of antidotes of what you might hear about is, some of our employees through this employment have been able to like graduate high school, build their first homes, buy a television for the first time. And these are the stories that really motivate us. Being an entrepreneur in a small rural town of Costa Rica is not an easy sort of job to take on. But this is, the people are our motivators and the reason why we continue to kind of do and push for this dream that we have. So our workshop's fairly small, it's intimate. It's not a typical workshop that I think people envision when they think of like a factory and production of bags. We want it to feel like home. That's the goal. And I think you experience that when you come through the doors. So you get a chance to make this really cool luggage tag that you'll be able to take home. And we end it with an opportunity to sort of paint and personalize it. And it's always so fun because I feel like the first half of the workshop, everyone's so like energetic and lively. And then all of a sudden when the paints come out, everyone goes silent and they're just super into their, what they're gonna draw and take and personalize. Here's a photo of our group actually in January that we had. It was a group of women and they were, yeah, all painting their beautiful designs and personalizing it. Um, and Chris, can you tell a little bit about the building? Because we have the coffee shop and souvenir store too. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so this space, it's like I think you mentioned this at the beginning. It's many things. It's a very dynamic space, brand, business. And we have the workshop upstairs, like we say, right, where we transform the airplane seats. But downstairs too, we open a, let's call it a local makers market, right? So where we offer with the same concept of an alternative to all the stores that might be around souvenirs and gifts, we offer this space for local makers to also sell their creations with identity, with a little more purpose. And we sell them there in a souvenir. And we also have a coffee service. I myself, I'm a coffee lover. I'm here drinking my coffee too today too. So that we also offer coffee, sell coffee from Turrialba, which is a really good coffee. Um, yeah, so that's a space we have, which is like a locals makers market.
Yeah. And it's really special because so before with Wear Sauce, we've been able to make our impact through again the employment of our employees and be able to again give them that sort of economic compensation. But now through the shop, because we're offering it to all of these local makers, there's more than 50 people who sell out of our shop their handmade goods. Often they are, sustainably made with some sort of like natural materials or fibers or interesting sort of hand painted, unique, one of a kind items that we're able to give people now a space. And as a result, we've only had the shop officially opened. Like I think it was May last year that we opened it, right, Chris? So less than a year. But it's become a little hub for these artisans, and almost every week we get new people coming into the shop offering, their locally made goods. So out of those, like I think it's 57 people, around 80% are from Turrialba. So there's a lot of talent in our small town. And then the other 20% are from, other regions of Costa Rica that we found over our time. But we're just starting. The idea really is to make it this local maker space, like Chris said, and for people to be able to sell their local art and receive again a wage from that month to month. And it's been really inspiring to see kind of like how everything sells. There's like not one just item that I feel like doesn't sell in the shop. Everybody gets love. But it's cool because, like Chris said, we're so far removed from the items that we make. So in the shop, we really do tell the stories of who's behind the product, who's it going to, where are they from, and what their story is to tell. But yeah, it's another fun element of the space. And on this day, we will give you an opportunity to kind of explore where you want to go for lunch. We're in downtown area, so there's a lot of sort of options to kind of do both international food but also local food that you can have. And we'll give you some free time for the afternoon before we will go to a farm to table dinner. And this is the view from the farm. So if we get this good weather, right before sunset, this is the view that you can have to look forward to. And the story of this farm is really unique because it's run by two local sisters from Turrialba as well. You can see this is a video of Maria, one of the sisters, talking about the farm and kind of showcasing just a small piece of the land that they work on. But we get a tour of the farm. We get to learn from them about the history of, how they came into this work, because it really was, a family farm that they were able to kind of take over the two of them. And they both have very unique and different backgrounds, like Chris and I, that together their knowledge really has birthed a beautiful project. But they really are about, again, regeneration, but through agriculture. So they grow all kinds of stuff from mushrooms to lettuce to tomatoes, you name it. They've probably grown it at some point or tried to. But they do have their staples that they're kind of known for. So back in the pandemic days, we used to order from them and they would deliver to our house. And then that spiraled into them finally having a storefront. So we will have a chance to go to their storefront as well. So you can see their shop where they sell all of their local goods. But similar to Chris and I, they also have like a local makers shop, but for agriculture, like all of the other different people who are growing in sustainable ways. And they love to represent brands that also have like free range meats and eggs and everything that are, again, made locally or more nationally. So it's definitely a theme, as mentioned in this itinerary, of just that I feel like very intentional sort of effort to create solutions that also give back to the earth in some sort of way. So we get to Maria and Laura say they cook like farmers. So whatever is in season, that's what we're having. So the meal is never the same. Every single time we go, it's going to be different. You can see some of the little dishes here. These are different relishes or, jams that they've made along the way from different seasons that we get to try and experience. It really is an exceptional multiple course meal where you will definitely be like rolling out of there. They feed you, but you also get to see them harvest. So when we're going through the tour, we're also grabbing things that we could put in the meal. And so it's a really unique experience to be able to kind of get a window into their life and be able to be hosted in their home. It really is not like a typical restaurant. You really feel like you're you're in someone's, personal space and you're at the round table getting to sit alongside the farmers and hear their stories as well. So really unique opportunity and delicious, healthy food to look forward to. So on day three, we get the wonderful opportunity to venture out to see where Alec is living and where he's doing his placement. So we get a chance to go to the community of Mojejones, and this is the community where we actually strip the airplane seats. So Angie, one of our guides in the photo here, she's holding up the Southwest airplane seat that we transform into new life in Huesos. But Alec, can you tell us a little bit about the experience of getting a chance to arrive to the community and do the volunteer portion, stripping the airline seats? What does that look like actually on the ground?
Sure thing. So, Lynn and Christian have touched on a lot of the things that make Moyahones in this project very special. So basically, the seats, we transfer them from Cartier to the community, and so you guys will arrive and you'll be greeted by um, the a local guide from the local tourism association, and basically they will come and welcome you in. How the leather project works here in Moyahones is that there's about 30 families, and one person per family is allowed to work because it's a communal. It's like a socioeconomic project where the idea is that multiple families benefit. So on any given day, you'll have about 15 people there. So you guys will come and we'll have an introduction. You'll get to meet people from the local communities, and they will basically guide you on how the process is done in terms of taking the seat into its parts and how they get sorted, and then they go to Chris and Lynn, and they become beautiful products that get upcycled and created into beautiful bags. You'll also then have a chance to go and participate in other activities. They mentioned earlier that this is a very authentic and it's off the beaten path. Basically, the tourism here in Moyahones exists. They don't create anything new to sell to anyone else outside. They say that it's turismo vivencial, which means that you're just living what they do on a day-to-day basis, and that in and of itself is the experience that you have here in Moyahones.
Yeah, it's true. It's so beautiful. One of the sort of offerings or tours that they have is even just like talking with the elders or like hanging out, like hearing their stories. It's um something I say to Alec, like every time I go, I learn something new about the community that I didn't know that just makes me love it even more. And as I mentioned, Chris and I, we did one of our first date hikes out here, and this is the community that we go to recharge our batteries when we need it. And the views are also just incredible. Just such a beautiful place to be able to spend the day. So the idea is to really spend the whole day at the community. So we start the morning, as Alec mentioned, getting to meet some of the families that are working in their project, also hearing their stories and what this economic impact has been. This partnership with Southwest is really incredible because they help to sort of front load that cost for us as a business to be able to not have to sort of to do at this point. So they through the partnership they pay for the wages for these employees to be able to take the seats apart, and it's not an easy job. It's actually quite hard and difficult. So I think it creates a whole new level of appreciation of not just the craft of the bag, but the actual like workers and what they're able to do. And there's workers of all ages. You can see a little kid here with his mom that's, hanging out, also joining in. So sometimes, they have the whole family just around. And I think it's really cool because, they talk about what an opportunity it is to even just be sharing. And I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that, Alec, of what some of the stories have been, but that concept of like being able to meet and work together, like it's not a very formal job placement, like, they can come and share their food, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the idea of this project, since its inception, is that it needs to be for the benefit of everyone, from the senior citizens all the way down to the children. So as you can see, like Lynn mentioned, the kids, they'll come and hang out with their mom. Usually, the vast majority of people who work there are women. because there's not a lot of employment out here. This is a very rural village of about 200 people. Um, so this is a great way for them to like substantiate a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but to make a little
Yeah.
bit of money that they can put towards their families. And like Lynn said, so this work is a little bit difficult, but still we have the oldest member of the project who works to disarm the seats is 88 years old. So
This
the
is a photo of her for everyone to know. Yeah.
yes, her name is Doña Luisa. She's the sweetest lady, so I hope you guys have a chance to meet her. Um, but there's not like a quota in terms of, you have to take apart this many seats. The idea is that, senior citizens, they can take as much time as they need to rest, if they need to take a little break, to have their lunch. And it's actually one of the stories that happened recently that was there was the pause in the project, and some of the senior citizens came up to the person who was organizing it, and they were like, they had an appointment, and they were like, you really need to make this thing get back on track because we really love this. This is like an opportunity for us to socialize. There's a very palpable sense of togetherness where people that just because of the fact that they get out to go all day from the house, they get to work together. When you're in the room, it's just a lot of conversations and people
Mhm.
laughing, sharing stories. So you really get to see like the power of the community together on a project that has an impact that goes very, very far, just beyond this little tiny village of 200 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's a tiny town of just 200 people. I mean, really everyone also is just so deeply connected, and the stories shared in those spaces are so powerful. And yeah, Doña Luisa, she received like her first paycheck technically through this project. So it's a story that you often hear if you do get the chance to meet her, if she's feeling up to it. But you can imagine, to receiving your first paycheck in your 80s, it's a pretty big honor, and we're so grateful to have her as a part of this project. And yeah, lots of stories to share and hear. But if you're somebody who likes to connect and sort of like ask the questions, I mean, these people have a wealth of stories to tell you. And we'll have lunch at the community center after we do the volunteering. Which is an awesome opportunity to also get some local food and sort of experience that local cuisine. And then in the afternoon, we have the chance to make some bread. We also have a cajeta making experience. If for We usually switch off between the two women so that they both also get equal opportunity. But I just included photos here for the sake of time of the bread making experience, and also because Alec, you used to live with the woman, right, who hosts this. So can you tell us a little bit about the bread making?
Sure. So, yep, I lived at this house for over a year. And well, I suppose I can just start with the picture in the middle there, which is the uh the bread is made in an oven that is made of recycled barrel that she's refitted into an oven. It's gotten its share of news stories written about it in Costa Rican media, which is pretty fun. But basically, it's a recipe that she's used for generations in her family, as well as the design for the barrel. It
Mhm.
stems it stems from the fact that when she was growing up, they didn't have electricity, and so they needed to have an oven that worked. And basically, they found this, they refitted it, and she to this day, Doña Laura, who offers the experience, she cooks the bread this way. And you will basically learn the recipe. She'll ask if you want to, help knead the dough. And then she'll show you a couple of designs that she makes because she makes this bread every single week for her family, and they eat it every day for breakfast. I did too. It's delicious. You'll love it. And yeah, so you'll learn her designs, and then she also encourages you to get creative and use whatever designs you may already know or want to try to invent. It's a very beautiful experience where, it's all about sharing and living something that's done every day together.
Yeah. Exactly. No, and people get so creative. I'm always shocked with what people can create with this bread. It is an amazing recipe, and she'll usually give you, a copy of it so you can save or write it down. And yeah, it's a an awesome experience. So we'll give you the afternoon after that. It's definitely a full day. I think after that something like that, our hearts feel pretty big and we have a chance to sort of take the evening off to ourselves and sort of reflect and have dinner on our own as well. We'll give you lots of recommendations. As mentioned, the hotel also has somewhere where that you can eat. But the next day is a really fun day where we have the morning to go to Nortico. This is a sustainable cacao and actually like award-winning farm. They won the Cacao of Excellence in 2023, which is a global competition on the quality of their cacao. And so they do what's called fina aroma or fine flavor cacao. And CATI, which Alec mentioned earlier, is a research institute that this free day you might have a chance to go explore a little bit more. At some point, we'll probably take the car just through the campus or the bus through the campus so you can kind of see the property. But that's where Chris and I live. It's a agricultural research institute that's technically the oldest in Latin America when it comes to topics like agroforestry and forest management. But it attracts a lot of people like myself who came to study there and be connected and learn. And one of the founders of this cacao company worked there for 13 years, and he married a Norwegian girl. That's why it's called Nortico. Ticos is what they call Costa Ricans. And so now they have this farm. It's around 8 hectares, but they also work in the community. So they are currently educating more than 25 farmers in the region, over 15 hectares of land where they're planting cacao and educating these farmers and buying it back for a fair price. And it's soon going to be 50 farmers, which is really exciting. So again, we love to partner with organizations that do their effort in doing community development and trying to educate in the ways that they know best, or can kind of transfer that knowledge. So it's way more than just a cacao tour. Like, yes, you get to make your own cacao, you get to learn about the growing, the fermentation, and the drying process, but you also have a chance to really learn about that community impact side of what they're doing as well. And of course, eat some amazing chocolate. So the idea is in the morning, we have this opportunity, and then you have the afternoon to sort of do your own thing and choose your own adventure, which we'll talk about in a second. But one unique activity that is sort of known and famous for and is a thread in Turrialba is rafting. So we have one of the best rafting in the world in the Pequari River. It's top 5 best rafting experiences in the world. So it really is a epic opportunity. The uniqueness though is that this is an all-day tour. So if you were to opt in for the rafting, which highly recommend if you're into that sort of thing, you will miss out on the full chocolate making experience. We'll have you actually come later on. You get a VIP tour at the end where you come just for like a chocolate tasting and you kind of learn about the history. It's probably, an hour-long experience as opposed to like a 2.5-hour-long tour. So we'll give you the shortened version at the end of the day. So for rafting, you will, go out in the morning, probably pick up around 7 a.m. You'll be actually on the river by 8 or 9, and then you won't be back until about 3 p.m. So it really is a full day. We have an optional activities sort of guidebook for you so that you can see all the different options. I'll pull on Chris to talk about a few of them just to give you a sample into some of the other less adventure intense experiences, because if you're not into that, that's okay. There's lots more to do. But I will say that for most people that come to Turrialba, rafting is definitely on their radar. And Chris and I have done it a few times, and it's yeah, we highly recommend it. But Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the other experiences that they could do on this optional day?
Yeah, no, and like Lynn said, there's plenty of things to do. It's hard to choose, and they're all beautiful adventures, either whether that's an adventure on a beautiful river or adventure canyoning. We have the possibility to do this course that includes canyoning, zip lining. It's a great introduction to canyoning. I know it might seem like very intense, but it's not,
What is canyoning, just in case nobody knows?
great point. Yeah, I'm assuming like canyoning. in simple terms, we put like descending, rappelling down a body of water. So in this case, or between rocks, canyon. So it's just basically rappelling down, right? You wouldn't do any climbing. It's not climbing up. It's just rappelling down. And the beautiful thing of this course is that it offers, it's like a series of activities, right? Like zip lining, rappelling down, canyoning through small waterfalls that give you a very good introduction to what the sport is. It's all, of course, guided by professional, certified guides who are for masters of what they do. So it's a great opportunity if you're thinking, oh, I've always wanted to do something like this, but I've only been exposed to very like professional waterfalls. Well, this is a great opportunity. Rafting, Lynn mentioned. Coffee, we have a Chiares farm. We have a coffee farm tour, which is one of the best ones that you get to learn about not only the process of growing coffee, but tasting it, the qualities. And so if you're really into learning about coffee, that's highly recommended. Horseback riding, also through the beautiful landscapes of Turrialba, which like
And the coffee farms. It's in the same Aquiles farm. So you get a chance to still have a coffee at the end, but you can experience the farm in a little bit of a different method,
right,
transportation method.
and more of the views, that there's plenty of views here.
Mhm.
And a botanical garden tour where you get to learn about fruits, conservation, efforts in conservation, the importance of food conservation, growing, and plenty of tropical fruits, some of them that you might not see anywhere else in the world. So that's a great opportunity too if you want to learn about these different models of conservation efforts of fruit, tropical fruits, what it takes to really preserve all this genetic material. And then if you're more into the hiking, like more into the trail hiking, we have the option to hike Volcan Turrialba, which is one of many volcanoes that we have in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a land of volcanoes. There is more than 100 different volcanic formations, and around 7 or 9 of the more popular ones that you might see on the news or on the map, like Volcan Turrialba, Arenal, Irasu. So it's an active volcano. So it's a sight to see. You get to see this beautiful volcano, and sometimes it throws some clouds of ashes like the you see active, but it's a hike.
Yeah, and for everyone to know, we won't go right up to the crater. The hikes that are offered, it's actually run by, again, a women's organization that are locally from the volcano part, because it is about a 45-minute drive to get up um, to the Central, where we'll start the tour. But there's different hiking options that you can do depending on how, long you want to go or how many kilometers. But generally speaking, we recommend, like a 5 to 10K where you're able to walk around what's called the burnt forest. And it really does feel like you're in a different planet. Like the landscape, as you can kind of see in this photo, goes from that stark green to black. And it's really a unique environment to kind of be exposed to. And again, a really rich sort of soil that lives around it, so that those areas are also very agricultural and great spots to stop for lunch afterwards as well. So I do want to hop in and give ch people chance to talk about questions, but I love to cover, the typical ones so that people know, what to expect. Who travels on our experiences is really everyone from, that multi-generation, as early as 6 years old. So we don't take anyone younger than 6 on our public trips. If for any reason you want to explore a private date, this itinerary is actually a really good fit for kids. Almost all the spaces that we go to are sort of like kid friendly if you did want, a private experience for anyone younger than 6 years old. But I will say that, yeah, this, who travels, friends, couples, solo travelers, families, some of the earlier videos you saw there was multi-generation with the grandparents and the grandkids. So this is an itinerary that you can definitely have anyone go on as long as you're still, active and can get on and off the bus. Um, And our experiences always include, again, that local bilingual guide, all mentioned activities, most meals. As mentioned, there's I think a lunch and a dinner that we will have on our own, but always reliable and comfortable transportation. Again, boutique lodging and medical evacuation insurance is also included in all of our experiences. So what's not included is your flights and visas. At the moment, no visa is required for anyone coming from the US or Canada to enter into Costa Rica. It's a 6-month visa. So no worries there. It's a pretty easy destination to travel to. And then tips and gratuities, we do give recommendations, but that's obviously very personal. And then alcohol and any sort of other extras and traveler's insurance, we do give recommendations on that. But you can get in touch with me if you have any questions about that information. But we do essentially, I or my colleagues work to fit you into the right trip. So we have a lot of trips as mentioned, but we have this awesome resource called the Travel Portal, which kind of gives you a deeper dive into, the packing list, recommended reading and watch list. It's got is this trip right for you page with just kind of unique notes and considerations. Costa Rica is a very tropical, warm, biodiverse place where you can see bugs and critters of all shapes and sizes. So if that's something that you are maybe sensitive about, we try to pull out those items in the Is This Trip Right For You page so you can make sure that you're choosing the right trip. We know that our experiences are an investment in you and anyone that you might be traveling with. And so we want to make sure that you're excited about the experience that we're offering. So if after this, when we send the recording, I'll also include a link to the travel portal so that you can check that out. But yeah, it's a resource that you can look forward to having. And once we fit you in the sales team into the right trip, there's this sort of handoff to a pre-departure coordinator. Her name is Jenny, and she's a wonderful resource for you to help get you prepared for the trip leading up to it. So I'll give everyone a chance if there is any questions from the audience to throw your questions in the chat and we can go from there. But I don't know if Chris or Alec, you have any sort of last comments. Thank you both so much for bringing in that real sort of experience and educating our travelers on what our trip looks like on the ground.
Thank you, Lynn. And yeah, very excited. I think this is a great opportunity, like both Alec and Lynn said, to see a side of Costa Rica that it shows you the authentic way of living and very off the beaten path with a selection of activities that are very intentional and small grassroots initiatives without missing that element that Costa Rica has, which is beautiful nature and outdoors and adventures and culture. But thank you for having us.
Is
But same thing, thanks, Lynn, for having me on. Like Chris just said, this is Turrialba. When you tell your friends, where are you going in Costa Rica, and you say Turrialba, chances are they're not really going to have heard of it unless they went here themselves. A lot of people think about Costa Rica being like the Western Pacific side, beaches and everything. So it is a little bit different to come here to the volcano, and it's a much more unique and, in my opinion, authentic experience. So we hope to welcome you here over in Moyahones, and thanks again for having us. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Appreciate your time and energy shared. Somebody asked in the chat, sounds like a great trip. When's the next one? It is in April, actually, in early April. I'm also gonna pull up here if you go to our website, which I'm gonna share my screen, you can check out dates. This is actually a fun way to show anyone if you are exploring our website and you want to know. Here we got the Weekend Getaways, we got the Costa Rica Culture, Craft, and Conservation, and all of our trip pages. If you actually scroll to the bottom, you'll be able to see the different dates. Sorry, there we go. So we do have a trip the 6th to the 10th right now. It's marked as full. We can always try to request in case anybody is interested in coming in as early as the first week of April. We can definitely explore. You can't buy your flights until we're able to confirm with the hotels. But then there's some other later April dates, June, July, August, and then November and December. And we also have 2027 dates as well. So yeah, let's see here. Says, if I call in, can I talk to you about this trip? Yes, absolutely. So I will, in our follow-up email, also include my Calendly link where you can schedule a time to talk with me and go over these trip experiences. But yeah, if you ever call in and you want to talk to me personally, given the personal connection to this trip, I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So do get in touch, and I look forward to chatting with you more. Oh, wonderful. Somebody said, love the community interaction. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It's such a pleasure and looking forward to hopefully hosting you in Costa Rica. And thanks, Chris and Alec, again, and hope you have a great rest of your day. All right, bye, everyone.